Okay, welcome back to YouTube, my YouTube, viewers YouTube, all the YouTube. Today we're going to be training push. I'm not feeling very well. I don't know if you can hear that in my voice. Obviously it's deeper anyway, but it's extra deep and sniffly today. So I'm going to be doing a devolume session because I woke up not feeling my best, but not to the point where I felt like I couldn't not train. So I wanted to come in and do something, and it means that I still keep my timings with Kuba. So I've been trialing a different time with training just to see if it works better with how I feel when I'm in here, and also with my sessions, and obviously with timings with work, etc. And also at the moment the gyms are a little bit busy, especially when it comes to time that we normally train. So I've decided to try and train after 2 meals. I'm going to see how that feels today and maybe a few of the sessions this week, and then try and make a decision, because I don't want to keep coming back and forth, because routine to me is so important. Obviously still keep my meal timings around the workout perimeter the same. It's just obviously training at a different time, again just to reduce the amount of people that's in the gym so that I can just get to work and not have to wait for machines quite so much. But we are going to do a devolume pull session. I'm also going to go through some little bits and little take points around how to save time, how to make your bodybuilding more effective, especially when working full time. So obviously if you've not got the luxury of being an online coach or someone that can create their own schedule, just to try and help people be able to stay within the sport for a little bit longer, because I think that people come away from it prematurely because they think that they can't do that and work full time. Because making sure that you know that you don't have to become an online coach is really important. And I think many people think that they have to because they're becoming a bodybuilder, and you don't have to. You have to do what makes you happy, what's enjoyable, and what can obviously fund your lifestyle of being a bodybuilder as well. So I would never have transitioned over to full-time coaching if I didn't already have that safety-ness of already having enough clients to be able to get rid of my other job. It's like I built up my online coaching business alongside still working full-time. It was stressful and it was busy, but it meant that transition over created no stress because the financial aspect wasn't negative. So I think it's really important that you make sure that from a financial aspect that you can afford everything, and hopefully the bits that we're going to go through today can help save time. I'm going to have my pre-workout, which is pumpage from Trained by JP, 17 grams of that alongside 5 grams of creatine and some of my salt that's for the day. My salt at the moment is at 14 grams. I'm obviously a lot heavier than what I am in a prep, where normally it sits at around 12 grams. So that little additional extra has actually allowed for my hydration to stay a little bit better, and my pumps in the gym have been way better, plus a reduction in cramps as well. So that's why I've tended to take that up. I'm going to crack on with training now because I've talked way too much, I'm sorry. Prior to my sessions, obviously we do some mobility prior to that. We used to do so many exercises, we've cut it down by about a quarter, so it literally takes 5-10 minutes max, and then ready to get to work. We were doing a lot of our prehab stuff for our injuries prior to the sessions, when in honest and actual fact, we literally just get activation through our core now, do a little bit for the specific muscle that we're about to target. But for the most part, the best thing that we've found for getting rid of our injuries or making our niggles feel better is just through good form, and doing the warm-ups and doing our movements with good form really helps with that. So, onto the first exercise, doing a lat focus pullover. Yes, that is for lats. You will utilise your lats to stabilise a lot when you press. So getting them firing prior to a push session, in my opinion, is really important. It's something that we've trialled throughout this off-season, and I feel so much better when I'm pressing. I feel like I'm already working. I don't push to failure on this. I literally do it to the point where I've got a few reps in the tank. Again, can we really know what a couple of reps in the tank are? Probably not, no. But I go to a point where I'm not doing that really ugly last rep. So to me, that's almost a rep or two in the tank. So that's what we're about to do. When it comes to this, need to, on single arm lat focus pullover, I like to make sure that my fist, well my palm, is facing towards the ceiling. If I keep it neutral grip or overhand, what I actually find is I take a lot of my tension into my tricep. That's me personally. So I keep my hand facing up towards the ceiling. You want to make sure that you do get a full stretch on the lat through straightening your arm and taking it all the way up, but you don't want to see your shoulder protract. If that happens, you actually take a lot of work into your teres, which is obviously not the idea behind a lat focused pullover. So for me, I do slightly think about keeping my scapula depressed, but not to the point in which I don't allow for full extension and stretch. You don't want to be limited, but you don't want to allow for your shoulder to be moving around on anything lat focused, because you won't isolate your lat. Unless you're a lat god, then you might. We used to use a normal cable lateral raise, but I actually found that the DY raise, especially on the cables, feels so much better. I actually take a lot less kind of tension into my traps on it compared to a lying cuff lateral. I think because you're working the full delt in total isolation compared to when you're doing a side lateral raise, where you can really, when you're really driving out, you take a lot of tension into your traps, in my opinion. So I actually find that this is way better. So if you maybe perhaps someone like me who takes a lot of it into your traps, perhaps I do it wrong, perhaps I try to go too heavy, I don't know. But I tend to find that this feels way better, and I've found that the amount of cap that I've got in my delt is way better as well. But I'm using the hard body wrist cuffs. If you want to support me and want to support a big brand, get obviously onto these. The link is in my bio, and use the code MEG to get 10% off. Do not use MEG10, use code MEG, and don't use Cuba either, because I think that doesn't work anymore. So much pumping into my delts. Salt the creatine. The reason I use the little head pad, basically, if I do a side lateral when I'm lying and my head tilts back, I get a lot of chest extension. If you get a lot of chest extension, you will take a lot of tension into your traps. That's even if you are doing it when you're standing. So always make sure that everything stays nice and neutral. That just allows me to keep everything nice and neutral. So if that's something that works really well for you, use it. Do not feel funky fresh. Actually really happy with that. The last time I did that, I think I only got like 8 reps on that weight, so I'm really happy. I didn't want to push that last rep up because it wouldn't have been a smooth rep. It would have been very and since the fact that I'm reducing volume a little bit today, obviously I don't want to do those types of reps, otherwise it gets rid of the focus of what the session is, and that's not to accumulate to any further fatigue when I'm not feeling 100% my best. Also, whoever brought this illness to Vegas that seems to keep kicking us all in the bum, you're a disgusting person. On to my third exercise, which is the stride incline press. On this one, because they have the resistance profiles on there, we are able to obviously dictate whether we want to have it in the shortened, the lengthened, or the mid-range, or a mixture of both with kind of the ones that are mid to lengthened, mid to shortened, etc. So on this one, what we've got is we've got it right in the lengthened, so right at the bottom of the rep. So what I like to do with this, just to make it extra hard at the same time, is just take a nice little minute there where it's really heavy before driving back up, and that just makes it even more targeted in that lengthened range. So that's on setting 3 here. What I want to make sure on any press that I do is making sure that when those elbows come down, they align with my mid-rib to make sure that my joints stay nice and safe. If you actually rotate your elbows back, so back and down as the elbows come down, what happens is your shoulder rotates forwards and you don't actually take a lot of tension into your muscle. What you actually do is take a lot of tension into your joint instead, which is something that you don't want. You don't want joint pain. You want it, everything and anything of the tension that you can create into the muscle. So keeping those elbows right below the wrists really help with that. When you drive up to the ceiling with the hands as well, if you allow for your shoulders to come up at the same time, you literally get nothing in the shortened. You get nothing there in terms of the squeeze and contraction that you can create. So make sure that your shoulders stay driving into the pads so that you can create all the tension that you possibly can here. Oh, what a bastard. Oh, I love that machine. It feels so good. Oh, if it looks like I'm in pain, I am in pain, but it's all good because it's worth it. Fuck it now. A cable single arm sideways. It's a movement that is butchered a lot, so I'm going to go through how I set it up. I like to make sure that I take a couple of steps away from the cables so that I don't hit the cable stack as I am using the actual movement. I need to make sure that I take a step behind the cable so that the little cable doesn't hit me. If the cable hits me anytime I actually lose tension where I'm supposed to be working, and it creates for the movement to be a little bit off. So make sure that you take a few steps away. I like to rotate my body just a little away from the cable stack because it allows for the movement and the resistance profile just to be way better for your side delt compared to if you're fully standing side on. I actually tend to find that I take a lot into my rear delt a little. So I actually take a little bit of a movement away, keep my arm a tiny little bit away from my front of my body again to make sure that the cable does not hit me. Keep my upper arm to the front of my body and then I just reach it out to the sides. It's not hard and it's not complicated, it is very simple. But just make sure that you make it simple, don't make it overcomplicated, and just get to work. A lot of the cable stacks only start at 4.5 kilos. If you're someone that literally can't get the 4.5 kilos and you're there swinging it around, just go and use some dumbbells. Build up your strength first before you move on to a cable. on anything unilaterally. So on there I actually got 12 on my first side, 13 on my second side. Lots of people ask whether you should stop after you've got the same reps on the other side. Absolutely not. Go to failure. You'll not get much past your other side, but don't stop just because obviously the other side told you to stop. Keep going. Fifth exercise, we're on the prime press. We've got the neutral grip press. So with this one, what I'm trying to target is a little bit of tricep, a little bit of front delt. Obviously, I can feel it into my upper pec as well. And the reason behind me having this movement in is because I actually lack the density here from my delts. I have a nice little cap on the side, but if you actually look at kind of my side poses and my front poses, you can see that this bit was just missing. So we've added in one of these to this session. We've also got the dips in the other session, but I actually lean my torso forwards in order to get a little bit through the front of my delt. So this is the movement basically that I'm doing, almost like a compound for that area. So that is my good exercise. Oh. The penultimate exercise was a standing cable sideways. Obviously I do it crossbody. I find it so nice in my delts when it's crossbody. The next exercise, which is the last exercise, is a crossbody tricep extension. Obviously I don't do too much in terms of tricep work or bicep work because I'm a bigger competitor. We need to have some there for it to look turned and defined. But if you have big biceps, especially for the size delts that we need for our class, we'd look a little bit odd in that you wouldn't really see the really nice delt cap unless you had like bigger delts, if we would then have like some serious arms, which is obviously then getting more towards women's physique. So just some little work in there to make sure that I still have some tricep, but not to the point where it's like a women's physique competitor or a male bodybuilder where they need serious density there. A cable tricep. So it is a movement that lots of people do but don't really do it very effectively to actually isolate their tricep. It's a movement that you can actually isolate your tricep. It's not a compound, so you don't need to be swinging around, moving around, getting other muscles involved. You want to literally isolate your tricep. So the idea here with a crossbody tricep extension is keeping your elbows just to the front of your ribs there. You want to make sure that you've got enough room, so you might need to take a step back for you to be able to bring your biceps all the way in to your forearms, keeping your elbows in one locked position and then driving the hands out, and literally it's just a repetition of that. I actually find popping my lats a little bit into my triceps also isolates them a little bit more as well, but you literally want no elbow movement. They need to stay in one locked position. The only thing moving should be your forearm, in and out, in and out. For watching my lovely YouTube. I hope that you took some things away from it whether that be from the perspective of balancing bodybuilding with your full-time working. Do not be afraid to not be an online coach. Don't be afraid to work in other avenues, especially if it's your passion, because you can still balance that and do really well with your bodybuilding. I managed to achieve my pro card. If it wasn't for the fact that obviously online coaching presented itself, then I would have still worked doing my full-time job in bodybuilding and I would have still made things thrive, so don't feel like you can't do that. That was my push session. Obviously I have additional volume when I do full-time sets. When I'm not doing my volume sessions, literally double the amount that you've just seen from me today. But I'm hoping that the little teaching points that I went through was obviously beneficial, and I'm hoping that the little conversation around pre-session mobility is something that you take away with as well. Make sure that you aren't doing kind of any longer than 5 to 10 minutes, otherwise you're going to be absolutely knackered. You're going to take away from your session, and that's not what the idea behind a warm-up is. You need to be there, you need to be activated, you need to be ready to go. If it's something that's an injury, that's something else that you're supposed to be doing, do it away from your workout perimeter, because you want to make sure that you're switched on and focused, especially if your goal is progressive overload. So yeah, hopefully you take something from it. Please let me know if there's anything else that you would like me to cover in the comments. But thank you, please like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And if you ever have any questions or something that you'd like to ask me personally, please feel free to always give me a DM on Instagram. My tag handle is below in the comments.